This week of reviews is going to be dedicated to only the Bad Batch members. Kind of, I already reviewed Echo, so he's kind of out of the way. I might do a smaller review of him, maybe. But as far as it goes, the others here, the other 5 members, are completely in play. Unfortunately, I don't have a 7th figure because the other figurehead was Cad Bane, and I already reviewed him. So, bit unfortunate there, but that is the concept of this week. So let's just get into the review of Wrecker is our next of batch week, number 3. And Wrecker is the only deluxe of the group, and, well, it's kind of necessary. He is a lot bigger than the others in a lot of ways. Just physically, he is a lot beefier. The armor, just his stature in general. Here we have his box, which again is a deluxe box. There you have that. Back of the box if you want to read up on Wrecker. But you probably already know him. He's number 5 in the Bad Batch line. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the only ones to not get a re-release other than Tech and Omega, because I think they were last. But the Crosshair and Hunter were pretty early on. As far as it goes, this guy is really, really good. He looks amazing. As far as the detailing is concerned, he has a lot of the silver nicks in the armor all over him, all over the chest, shoulders, and knees. Taking a look at the arms, very good looking. He has this kind of like ridge on his gauntlets though, and then on his hands he has these large metal plates, which would be, I assume, for punching things, because he does do that. The chest piece is very nice, similar to Hunter's, as we had seen already. It is actually similar to Tech, though, in the way that it is a bit of a softer material, so that's nice. As far as everything goes, there's obviously no reuse in this guy, because he's a deluxe clone, which hasn't happened as far as I know, unless they did a one with, like, a heavy cannon and things like that. That's about the only exception I could see to that. The legs, as well, looking at them, they're pretty close to being regular clone, but just a lot big. They're just big. Shoe is wholly unique, though, so at least there's that. And as far as it goes, it just looks great. It does have a backpack, which is on the back. It's actually molded in black, opposed to the rest of the figure. It is a different shade. It's kind of this darker coloration that he has going on here, because he has the gray for the most part, but then some of the areas have this kind of darker black color going on. And even detailing-wise, he does have the skulls and the 99 on each shoulder. On his right leg, he does have a knife holster. And he does just look quite good as far as accessories are concerned. He comes with his knife, which, unlike Hunter's, doesn't have the yellow lines. If I'm not mistaken, his does have yellow lines from what I had seen in the Clone Wars arc. I don't remember him using the knife too much. It's not crazy, I guess you'd say. But it is there. And then he, of course, has the DC-17M, which, again, similar to Hunter. Hunter's the only other guy with it. This is aka the Commando gun, and in his hands, it looks like a pistol. It looks like a pistol. It doesn't look like a rifle. Comparatively, if we get Hunter in here, who still has his... Hunter's looks a little bit... It's definitely still a smaller gun. It's more of an SMG than anything. But it just looks very, very small in Wrecker's hands. And as you can see, the difference in height and just the overall mass of Wrecker. There's a lot more plastic to Wrecker than there is to Hunter. I'll tell you that right now. Hunter is not nearly as hefty as Wrecker. And that is proper. Of course, his other accessory, his helmet, which is actually more of a hard plastic, not really rubbery at all. Slides on and off pretty easy. Looks good. He has probably my favorite helmet, like, paint job going with this kind of skull or some kind of beast. The 99 front and center, which is something that they don't usually do. I think only him and Echo have the 99 front and center on their helmets. So that's nice. And it can sit perfectly on his head, as you might have seen in the tech review if you watched it. It just sits perfectly on his head doing this, which he does do sometimes. He does often have his helmet just on his head, kind of like that. And he'll flip his helmet down over his face. He does that a couple times. I remember him doing that gesture. I always remember doing. Like I said, slides on very easily. He has a very smooth, bald head, which does kind of have one small issue to it. It does look like Wrecker. He actually looks a lot more like Temuera Morrison than a couple of the other clones, which makes sense, because, again, he's just going to be a little bit different, in my opinion. He's going to be a big guy. I really don't see them changing his face too much. But the one thing is he does have the missing eye, which he does have, and then the scars. The scars are on there to just get in there and look. You can see the sculpting with the shining, but they didn't do anything. They didn't really put anything. There's a couple that are picked out up by the nose, but they didn't do it for all of them, because the scar goes all the way behind to the back of his head, and they only really did the one. And his ear is not really mangled either. I just feel like it's kind of a big missed opportunity not to paint the scar, because it's a deluxe figure. He doesn't come with an absolute ton of accessories, if I'm being honest. One gun, a knife, and a backpack, which, if I'm being honest, there is Bad Batch members that come with the same amount of stuff, and they're just regular figures. I don't know what else you're really going to include with him. I would have liked to have seen the Gonk droid. That would have been cool, but I feel like that's too much of an ask. But yeah, I think this Wrecker does look quite good, and his accessories, although not super unique, other than the knife and the helmet, obviously, are pretty great. As far as the articulation and everything goes, you are going to get more without the helmet on, just to show it while it's off. And then if you do put the helmet on, it's going to restrict things. It's going to hit this kind of collar section. That's how it works for most characters with helmets, though. Forward and back, these are on O-rings. Outward, very loose elbow, which isn't too bad along with that. I don't mind his joints being... They're, like, tight enough to hold a pose, but they're loose enough to where you can get them where you want. Because sometimes I find where they're a little ratcheted, you have to kind of put them into a certain position. You can't get the exact pose you need. Hands do rotate. He does have in and out, and then I believe it's up and down again. So, still going with that. And then the torso is pretty movable. Again, has that bit more of a rounded chest shape, so it does allow for a little bit more movement to be applied. Legs go forward and back. Outward knee joint is pretty good. No double knee, a little above 90 though. Swivel at the knee joint and at the thigh. Forward and back, and of course an ankle tilt. It's pretty good ankle tilt at that, so you can get some pretty good motion out of Wrecker. No real issues here with Wrecker. I think that he looks really good. And let's just get to the final thoughts on him. I know this one's a little shorter. It's mostly because, well, we've taken a look at the Bad Batch, and they don't really have super unique things. They're all the same coloration, pretty much, and they all have the same type of accessories. So, again, I didn't really cover Wrecker's character like I did the others, but he's the big brute. He is the strong man, and also the demo expert. So that's nice. That's Wrecker. But as far as he goes, he's great. I mean, the look of him is fantastic. The nice silver paint. Again, they did put a lot of paint in him, but they didn't put paint on the head, which kind of... It's a small miss. I wish they did it, but otherwise he's relatively perfect. I wouldn't add anything. Again, it is a deluxe, so I kind of wish he would have came with a little more, but I don't know what you're going to make him come with. You know what I'm saying? He also... I didn't even mention this. He has butterflies. What do you know? But it's one of those weird things, because he's not really missing anything. It's just the lack of accessories. He's a big figure. He doesn't not feel like a deluxe Black Series release. He does. He has the heft. He has everything going for him to be a deluxe. It makes sense. But I just wish he came with more. You know what I'm saying? Maybe another gun, something. I don't know. I just wish he had came with a little bit more. That's about all, really. Like, just a bit more in the package. I know he has a whole new sculpt. He's not like a remake of a character like a Boba Fett, where it's like, oh, Boba Fett's been around forever. They have different variations of it. He only somewhat changes. Wrecker's completely new sculpt. This is probably never going to get reused for anything other than a Wrecker, which I think it already did because there is Season 2 Wrecker with the orange. So it does make sense. I mean... He's a great figure. You're not going to regret getting him, obviously, especially if you have the squad going. Even if you don't, I mean, he's still a fun figure. He's just a big, chunky guy, you know? He's a really good addition to the collection. And honestly, that's really it for Wrecker. I think he's really good, and I mean, if you're going for the Bad Batch, you're not going to be disappointed in Wrecker at all. I think he's perfect, other than the Slate Scar Miss paint. You know, they had that 10 out of 10, flawless, everything, you name it, but that's a little tiny nitpick. But anyway, that is really it for this review. This has been my review of Star Wars Black Series Wrecker. This has been Ilta Delete signing out.